You'll notice that none of the great conflict between David and Saul is mentioned in the book of 1 Chronicles. Now, in skipping all that, the writer of the Chronicles is not being deceptive, he's just being deliberate in his retelling. And to prove that to you, just come to the end of the book of 1 Chronicles for a moment, where you will read, "As for the events of King David's reign from beginning to end, they are written where? In the records of Samuel the seer." He is aware then that there is a full history, and he encourages you to go and read the full account if you would like. This is unashamedly the condensed account, and the writer even acknowledges it himself. So, chapter 11, verse 1. "All Israel came together to David at Hebron and said, 'We are your own flesh and blood. In the past, even while Saul was king, you were the one who led Israel on their military campaigns. And the Lord your God said to you, you will shepherd my people Israel, and you will become their ruler.'" Well, after a brief retelling of the conquest of Jerusalem, how David made that his capital city, we are introduced to some of the mighty men of David. Now, yes, a great long list of names, technically not a genealogy though. More interesting than just a list of names is the details of some of their exploits. On one occasion, for example, David expressed his longing for a drink of water from the well at the gate of Bethlehem. Now, I don't know if that water was especially pure and refreshing, or just because Bethlehem was the place of his birth and a place that held great kind of nostalgic personal power to him. But we read, 3 of his men heard that longing of David and were so desperate to serve their king wholeheartedly that they broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the gate at Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. This is absolutely epic. This could be a mini-series in itself. I don't know if they had to fight their way through the Philistines or sneak like spies across enemy lines, but either way, they did it. And I imagine they would have been so excited to show David what they had gone and done. David's response is confusing at first. David doesn't drink it, but instead we read that he pours it out, listen to this, to the Lord. Notice that he doesn't just pour it out on the ground for the sake of getting rid of the water, but for the sake of honouring God. This is a poured offering. It's like a Thanksgiving offering. For a Thanksgiving offering, you're effectively saying, I have a valuable thing, and yet I value the living God infinitely more than this. So I have a lamb, it's healthy, without defect, I could sell it for a lot of money, it's a valuable lamb. And yet, God, compared to you, this is nothing to me. Likewise, with any Thanksgiving offering, you're saying, here is a beautiful, valuable thing, and yet, God, you are more beautiful and more valuable by far. And so to demonstrate how highly I value you, I will get rid of this important thing. This means nothing to me compared to how much you mean to me. This is a poured out offering to the Lord. And so David is effectively taking the courage of these men and saying, friends, I am not worthy of such devotion from you, but live your lives like that for God. Lay everything on the line for him. This is a beautiful teaching moment from King David for the people that he loved. Those 3 evidently had a bit of a reputation because they were known as the 3 mighty warriors. We are introduced then to a few others. Benaiah, who struck down Moab's 2 mightiest warriors. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. Why is that so impressive? As if you needed to be told. Well, you're in a pit. You're not going to climb out of a pit backwards, and you're certainly not going to want to turn your back on a lion to try and climb out forwards. In other words, if you jump down into that pit, you are saying, only one of us is coming out of this alive. Unbelievable courage. And he did this on a snowy day, we read. So he didn't have the kind of footing he would usually want underneath him, and yet, clearly, he came out of the conflict as the victor. And then comes a list of David's mighty warriors. These are often referred to as the 30 mighty men of David. You might notice, however, that there are significantly more than 30 in this list. Why is that, and why are they called the 30? Well, probably it's because when one of them died, another was promoted to take his place. And so there were always 30, though all these people didn't serve at the exact same time. And then again, some fascinating details. Uriah the Hittite is on this list, along with many other notable names. Well, for today, consider this. We know what it looks like in this era to be exceptional, to get the eye of the king. It requires courage and faith to fight like this when all the odds are against you. But what does it look like in our day and age, for those same characteristics to be at work within our lives, what does it actually look like to be courageous and faithful in our lives today? What are the kind of exploits that are celebrated in heaven as the King looks down upon our lives? While these things may not seem as commendable or as impressive, I am absolutely convinced it is things like this: trusting God even when times are difficult, sharing your faith even with someone you think is utterly unlikely to respond well, using your strength to serve others, voluntarily shouldering responsibility in your family, in your community, in your church, slaying your sin without mercy like killing a lion in a snowy pit. The act of a mighty, faithful warrior today is to follow Jesus wholeheartedly. And so may God give us then the courage and the faith to do exactly that.